All right, we are back on the Ultimate Sports Network. This is Frank Gordon once again. We are going to talk some sports like we do all the time, various different things that we talk about, but hey, that's what we do. I'm going to let our gentlemen here, our guests, introduce themselves, and then we'll roll from there.
What's up, everybody? My name is Dylan Scullion, aka D-Man, as I'm known on Twitter. I used to be like a Twitch streamer, YouTuber, but when I was in college, my main passion was like talking about sports on the radio. And as you're gonna see with my my man here, we're gonna be talking about the Bills throughout the season, and I can't wait to do more about that.
Okay.
Mr. Maxwell. The pitching is what it is. I'm a Bills fan, as my partner D-Man is. I love the Bills with all my heart, and I love talking about them. So I think we're gonna have a fun season here, and I'm a fun guy, so I might crack a few jokes here and there, but this is gonna be real fun. Can't wait.
All right, we see you guys repping the jerseys here. We got a Josh Allen and an Ed Oliver jersey. We'll get you the Goated Mafia Report jerseys here pretty soon, so you can get those out, and we'll get those out to the people. Got to check out the logo. We've designed it between at least us. We think it's hot, so we'll figure out what you guys think about it.
I've seen it. I have to say it is really, really cool.
I've seen it as well. I like it.
You gave me the idea. We just followed through on it. So, look, here's what we do. We talk sports. And for those of you guys that have listened to these two or want to listen to these two, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a long, nice, fun ride for today, rest of the season, rest of our lives. Who knows what's going to happen? We're just going to enjoy ourselves. So we're going to jump into this real quick. First, we're going to talk about the Bills, and we're going to talk about what's going to happen this season, hopefully what's going to happen this season. All right? We just got through the preseason. We've got a 2-week gap between now and the season. Dylan, what do you think is going to happen between now and the season? What do they have to work on? What do they have to put together?
Well, I hate to tell everyone in the Bills Mafia, but the Zach Ertz trade is now officially off the table. He is reported back to the Eagles camp. He said, I want to retire an Eagle. He apologized to the Eagles organization. So the 19th time of Zach Ertz being traded to Buffalo will not happen. But going out of the preseason, Buffalo was 3-0. So they really showed no rust off the AFC Championship game loss to the Chiefs. You saw Josh Allen, I believe he was 20 of 26, 2 touchdowns, close to 180 yards. He looked nearly flawless, as we saw him last year. So it's really a great time for the Bills and the Bills fans to see what they did in the preseason.
All right, Vince. Now I'm going backwards here, but if you guys watch the show, you understand I jumped around. So we come from a season where, for the first time in 137 years, the New England Patriots do not win the AFC East.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, right. So we've got that, and we're in good shape. Now, how do we carry over that momentum from a weird season? Actually, let's put it this way. How much was due to the Bills being that good, and how much was due to them being that just weird season?
I think you can say it's a healthy balance, to be honest with you. I mean, the COVID really kind of it was a fun season, but it was also weird not seeing a lot of fans to the playoffs. So I mean, but as you can see, certain players played well with no fans, and we also saw how certain players play well with fans.
Right.
So I think it's a pretty healthy balance. But I think we'll truly see how good these guys are going to be with fans back in the stadiums this year.
Okay. Now, Dylan, we were talking about that a little bit off the air, that there is a difference between having fans and not having fans. But is this team built for the long haul, or was it maybe just a one-year thing?
I'm sure.
That's right. Dylan, go ahead.
Okay. See, Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have taught the Bills one thing throughout their tenure. McDermott came in 2017. He did the first draft, and then Brandon Beane was brought in because Doug Whaley was tied up, locked into the closet after the draft. They taught the Bills one thing: playoff caliber, and then when they got to the playoffs, championship caliber. So I do believe that last year wasn't a one-year fluke or whatever. They've prepared this team for anything and everything. They had a few COVID outbreaks in this offseason with Deion Dawkins, who had to be hospitalized. They had the whole Cole Beasley distraction, if you want to call it that, with him not being vaccinated, and being very verbal about that. But Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have taught the guys in the locker room, not only is this your team, this is your family. This is a brotherhood, and they're going to have each other's backs. And you even saw a little bit of that in the AFC Championship game, on that one of the last plays where Josh Allen's hit late, and you have Deion Dawkins and John Feliciano right in their face protecting their quarterback, and they will fight for Josh Allen. They will fight for anybody in this locker room, and McDermott and Beane have really preached that, and that's why I don't think this is going to be a 1-year thing.
Well, Vince, he touched on something pretty cool there about the Bills Mafia and about the team and all that. When you're looking at the rest of the AFC East, and we're talking the Jets, we know Jets fans, we're talking the Dolphins, I don't know if they have Dolphins fans, we're talking about the Patriots fans. When you compare and contrast your Bills Mafia as opposed to the rest of the AFC East, what makes you guys stand out? Why should people be following the Bills, not just because they're winning, but because they're the Bills? And what gets you guys going about this group of people?
I mean, it's as simple as there's no fan base like us. It extends from it doesn't matter the situation. Everybody that is a fan of Buffalo is like family. So when you're going through tough times, they always gonna be there to pick you up. And especially with the charities, I know specifically when they played the Seahawks last year. And Josh Allen's mother, I want to say it was his grandmother that had passed away before that game. And nobody knew until after the game. And everybody was wondering what made him play so good. And we all realized he was playing for his grandmother. And of course, after the game, a lot of fans went and pitched in and set up a GoFundMe account to donate money to Josh Allen's charity. So I mean that it's a family, and I can't really say much for those other fan bases and how they react to their players, but just as the whole fan base as a whole is just one big family.
And something that we've noticed about the Bills, and the whole Chris Berman, the Nolan Circles wagons, and all that stuff that he's talking back in the day, but you had a great middle to the late 80s and 90s. And then a not so great since then, up until the last couple of years. And Dylan's laughing, but the idea is that you still are a fan of the team. I don't know that you have those bandwagon fans. Let me rephrase. How much has the bandwagon increased in the last 2 years, or it's still pretty much the same group of people? Dylan?
Well, I want to add a few things onto what Vince said, before we continue. He said it perfectly. And the Bills fans have known this. Mafia means family, and that's what this is. It's not a fan base; it's a family. And there's 3 occasions to where it's actually 4 occasions where you really saw that. The first instance is the 17-year playoff drought ended by the Bengals with Andy Dalton and Tyler Boyd. Bills fans were sending in donations of $17 to Andy Dalton's charity.
Right.
And then you have the Josh Allen game where his grandmother passed away, which I call his Brett Favre game because everyone knows the infamous game where Brett Favre's father passed away, and he had that amazing game. $17 donations into the Children's Hospital in Buffalo, and in fact, they donated so much, it was over $1 million, but they changed the buttons on the website to have a little Zubas for the Bills fans, and it was $17, and they had that little increment. And even in the divisional round of the playoffs, the Bills fans when Lamar Jackson got hurt, they were sending in $8 donations for Lamar Jackson's jersey number to his charity after he got hurt in the playoff game. And then, of course, the most infamous one was one of the leaders of Bills Mafia, Pancho Villa, who passed away a few years ago. He passed away of cancer. Everybody was rallying for him. In fact, Ed Oliver was able to announce not 1 but 2 draft picks for the Buffalo Bills. He was on stage for the draft pick of Harrison Phillips, and was able to announce Ed Oliver. Like even Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, they like loved Pancho Villa. They even called him and said, "What do you guys think about this pick right here?" And Pancho like loved the pick. He truly led Buffalo Bills, and everybody rallied around him like when he was sick, and everybody like even the Buffalo Bills organization, they filled out his dream. Like he said, "I don't want flowers. I don't want anything for my like funeral service. I want all the money to go to like the kids of Buffalo and like get them backpacks and all that." And the Bills organization players, I believe Deion Dawkins, Harrison Phillips, like those players were like even on the field, like giving backpacks out to kids with school supplies. And that's what just like stood out to me like the most. And that's why Mafia means family.
And see, the reason why we do these shows, and the reason, and for those of you that don't understand how we're expanding things, the reason why we have guys like yourselves on is because you're well versed in those kind of stories, but also you understand the passion of the team. You understand the passion of the people involved with it. Like Vince said, I believe Buffalo. That's cool. That's what we're talking about. So when we get into the season, now that we're going to have fans back and whatnot and all that stuff, what's a typical game day like for the city of Buffalo and for you, Vince?
Me? I mean, when I wake up
okay,
early in the morning,
let's keep it PG-13 if we can.
No, nothing like that. But usually a typical Sunday. I mean, I'm waking up, get my little breakfast in. Could be anything. It don't really matter. And then I go to my I have this spot where I'm at because I'm based down in North Carolina. It's called Buffalo Brothers.
Okay.
And I go there. That's usually where I watch every Bills game. It's a Bills type bar in North Carolina, and a lot of people wouldn't expect that because it's North Carolina. But yeah, so I'm there every Sunday. There's a great group of people that I hang out with every week when I'm there, unless I'm going to a game, which I do have plans on going to one this year. But I'm there. Maybe we all chatted up until game time, and from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock or whenever they're playing. It's just a fun scene, and everybody's excited, and we all going crazy until it's time to go.
Well, one of the things we had on the website a few years ago, and obviously with the pandemic, things have changed. We did have a grouping we called the International Association of Sports Bars and Pubs. Long name, but I'm a long-winded person, so that's what I do. But the idea being, we had a listing for places where the game watch places, where you could go watch a game. So if you're in North Carolina, where can you watch a Bills game? So we want to make sure we get a shout out to those people again before we get done. All right, Vince?
No problem.
Make sure we let that know. But the thing is, hey, if you want to be involved with a game with people like yourselves and you can't make it to the stadium, like I'm in Las Vegas and I'm a Cleveland guy, which, that's two things that don't make a lot of sense, but that's another story in general. But it's, game time is 9 o'clock. I'm used to the tailgate. It's like tailgate making bacon and eggs. That doesn't work too well. But there's still places where you can go. So you got to find those like-minded people and go out and have a good time. So Dylan, what's a typical game for you like?
Well, me and my dad are actually season ticket holders to the Bills, so we try to go to as many games as possible. So basically, I can tell you the deep dive of the Bills tailgate, and I don't know how much of it I can keep PG. I don't know if going through tables.
I can edit. That's okay.
You got the folding tables, and I told my dad if the Bills won a Super Bowl, he has the right to throw me off a porch through a table. You got you got people grilling off their car engines. You have bowling ball shots. It's a lot. But when me and my dad can't go to a game like we did this past season, I'll go up to his house. We'll make wings. We'll get whatever. We'll have a few Labatt's, and we'll just sit back and watch the game. And it all depends on how the games goes because me and him are very superstitious. So if the Bills are playing well, nothing moves. But if the dog moves or whatever, we're all right, no, we're gonna give you a little treat to stay right here. Nothing can change. Yeah, I mean it all depends. If we go to the games, we always go to the practice facility, have a little fun at the pre-game, and then watch the game. But if we're watching at home, nothing changes. Even our sitting position. If I'm laying down and he's sitting up, or if he's standing. I remember in the divisional round, he was cooking something in the kitchen, and that's when Taron Johnson had the pick six 101
Right.
yards. I'm like this. By the way, I hope you know you can't like leave this line. Like you have to stay in the kitchen now. He's like, I know.
Right.
So like,
well,
and the worst part was like me and him couldn't scream because his fiance upstairs was like sleeping. So I'm like, I want to scream as loud as I can, but I don't want to disturb her.
right. Well, I'll give you a little back. I'm going to date myself here. All right. Everyone knows about Buffalo Wild Wings now, right? I mean, it's a national chain. Well, I'm going to date myself. It used to be called BW3, Buffalo Wings and Weck or whatever it was, right? That's a long time ago. But they opened a store in Buffalo. The second store is in Columbus, Ohio, and the third store is in Columbus, Ohio, right on the main campus of Ohio State. And we're going on record, myself and my buddies, that if it weren't for us, there would be no Buffalo Wild Wings because we kept that place in business. And if it had been for us, we wouldn't have that because there were too many other people understanding the wing thing, and they ended up franchising it. And 10 years later, I'm like, is that the same place? We should get some kind of discount or something, or some stock options or something, because if it had been for us, no doubt. So I'm connected to Buffalo's one way or another, some kind of way. So now, Vince, when we're talking about how this team is going to play this year, we know that they're coming off a great year. What do they have to do to sustain that, and how does it play in with the rest of the AFC East?
And it's as simple as, really, I would say, I mean, I because there's not a lot of teams out there that can really stop what Buffalo has really built. So, right. I mean, they didn't get to the AFC Championship for no reason last year.
Right.
But as far as the AFC East goes, from an expertise standpoint, I ain't gonna be real biased about it, but from an expertise standpoint, I really believe that Buffalo should be able to sweep this division because, I mean, with the Patriots cutting Cam Newton yesterday, which is a very surprise to me, but nevertheless on that, and they're going to go with Mac Jones. This division is very young at the quarterback position, with Josh Allen being the oldest quarterback at age 20.
Hard to believe. 25, yeah. 25. All four quarterbacks in the AFC East are under 25, yeah.
So it's going to be a real interesting year to see how all these teams play out. But I think if there's any team that's going to maybe give us some trouble, you got to say the Patriots just because it's Bill Belichick. But as far as the team itself, I really think they should have another successful year. They have the team and they have the coaching and everything all together to go ahead and make another run and actually get to the Super Bowl this year. But the only team that's standing in their way is, of course, the defending AFC champs, and that'd be the Kansas City Chiefs, who we see in Week 5 on Sunday Night Football.
Okay. All right, now, Dylan, I'm going to ask this question. This isn't for someone to put us on their bulletin board, but this is an idea. Now, I know we said last year, most people were saying, whatever faults that the Patriots have, whatever is going to happen, they're still Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Without Tom Brady, with Tom Brady, without Gronk, it's not going to make a difference. They're still going to rule the division. And lo and behold, they didn't. Now, and we can break all those teams down if we want to, but now looking at it this year, we've seen the down season with the Patriots. Do we believe there may be another down season, or is it that was just an anomaly and the Bills better watch out for the Patriots?
I've been a firm believer in the sense of Brady made Belichick. Okay. And you kind of saw it last year as I'm getting an Amber Alert for like the storm that's hitting. I think that Brady made Belichick, and you kind of saw it with the Bucs as well, because when the Bucs were using Bruce Arians' system a lot more, they were struggling. But like once like they hit Tom Brady's system, they didn't lose. They won 6 straight and then went into the playoffs, beat Taylor Heineke, but they also beat Drew Brees, and they beat Aaron Rodgers, and then they beat Patrick Mahomes. That is probably one of the greatest runs a quarterback has ever had to go through to win the Super Bowl. Those are 3 potential future Hall of Famers with Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, and Brees. And then when you look at the Patriots, they were off at all times. Yes, they didn't have any targets, but it was the same team basically, just minus Tom Brady. They didn't have any targets the year Brady was there. They didn't have any targets the year Brady left. You can't say Gronk wasn't there. Gronk retired for a year,
Right.
and then came back. I believe that last year kind of showed that Brady was that system, and it was. Now, I'm not saying Belichick isn't great, but I think Brady really made him, because when you look at Belichick before Brady, he really didn't have much success. But when Mo Lewis.
I sat through it. Believe me, I know. In Cleveland, I sat through it. I know.
But when Mo Lewis hit Drew Bledsoe, and that little dorky kid from Michigan comes in, that's when the whole thing shifted, and my misery started for 20 years.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I sat through. You bench Bernd Kosar for Vinny Testaverde? Okay. You must know what you're talking about. So, okay, now, Vince, we're looking at Robert Saleh taking over the Jets. And we're looking at a division where it seems to be, even though traditionally it's a defensive-minded division, it seems to be an offensive-minded division now. Is it a good idea, you think, for them to bring in a defensive-minded coach and to try and get Sam Darnold to become what he should be, or should they have brought in an offensive guy and pumped up the offense? Or is it better to have the defense trying to shut down the other offenses in the division?
It's a tricky. It depends on how you think about it. Because Buffalo hired Sean McDermott, who was a defensive-minded head coach,
right?
And he got the offensive pieces around him to build his team. So I really don't. I mean, a lot of people say if you hire a defensive-minded head coach and you want to build a good offense, it's never going to be successful because they're defensive-minded. They're going to always lean more towards defense than offense. But I think last year that kind of just. I mean, over the course of Sean McDermott's reign, I think that's pretty much held untrue. That
right.
I mean, you can build an offense with a defensive-minded head coach and still be successful. So I mean, but I think the Robert Saleh hire is a good hire because he's a good coach. Even though last year we kind of destroyed his defense in San Francisco, but we're not going to talk about that.
Right? That would say
leave that alone. This is another subject for another day. But I like it because we do need to see a lot more black head coaches, as I should so because we really don't have enough of them. But it's good to see that. So I mean, him being hired, I don't really. You could say he's defensive minded, but we'll see how their season goes. I mean, I don't think they'll win very many games with the roster they put together, but I do wish him the best, and I hope they have a somewhat successful season for him.
It's always better to beat up a team. This is the Ohio State Michigan thing that comes out of me. I love it when Michigan is undefeated and they play Ohio State because we beat a good team then. I don't like it when Michigan's 2-10. It doesn't mean anything, or it doesn't mean as much. You still want to beat them, but it doesn't mean as much.
Yeah, I
now,
feel that.
And you mentioned, the OC might be more, and the head coach is more of the GM, I guess is the best way of putting it. So you've got Brian Dable in there who's come in and has made the offense work, and Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier taking over the defense. So that's pretty cool. Now, Dylan, what do you think about where the Dolphins are? Is it a mess, or is it a mess being sorted out right now?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of both. I mean, Brian Flores showed last year with a team that was rebuilding that he's a great coach.
Right.
And it's actually interesting that, like we were talking about the fact that the AFC East might be offensive minded. Actually, every coach was a defensive coordinator or something close to that. McDermott was a defensive coordinator for the Panthers. Robert Saleh was a defensive coordinator for the 49ers, went to the Super Bowl. Belichick was a defensive-minded head coach as always, and Brian Flores was one of his assistants.
Right.
And I just want to regard one thing Vince said, Sean McDermott doesn't favor defense. I mean, 5 of his first-round picks or first picks were defense. You have his first pick was Tre'Davious White. Then in the second year, he took Allen, but he also took Tremaine Edmonds. Then he took Ed Oliver. Then they didn't have a first-round pick for the A.J. Epinesa year. And then they also just drafted Gregory Rousseau this year because the first-round pick for Epinesa was traded for Stephon Diggs. But his first pick has always been a defensive player, and he actually took 2 defensive players this year because he took Rousseau first and then Basham second. But
Love those guys.
Yeah.
Rousseau is going to be a monster.
He's a stud, yeah.
Woo!
McDermott and Bean love to have their projects because every single player they drafted has been a project, but they always pan out. But I'm going on a tangent here.
Sorry.
The Miami Dolphins, it's weird because they drafted Tua overall, 5th overall last year, but then because they won the big prize because it was tank for Tua, and then Tua started playing and he wasn't lighting it up like everyone thought, and then he got benched once, and then he got benched a second time, and he got benched against the Raiders in a game where they had to win, and. Right. If Fitzpatrick doesn't have COVID, he's getting benched week 17 because he played horrible against Buffalo's backups. Right. But Flores is a great coach, but then
you can't laugh at that. That's not funny.
I know.
He kind of is funny.
I'm laughing at D-Man because me and him always have these conversations about Tua, and he loves ranting on Tua. So this is hilarious.
My major thing with Tua was going into last season. ESPN and every news media had Sam Darnold 1, Tua 2, Josh Allen 3, Jarrett Stidham 4, and maybe even Jarrett Stidham at 3. So right. I just love the fact that Josh Allen is now considered a top 5 quarterback, and everyone's saying oh, Tua really didn't play all that well, but Josh Allen was considered lower than Tua when he didn't even play a snap in the NFL. That's why I love when Tua doesn't play all that well. And then you have the story coming out this week that the Dolphins are the front runner for Deshaun Watson, even though he's facing 22 cases that might not let him play football again. So if you're the front runner for someone who's not playing football, that doesn't show you have a lot of confidence in the guy you just drafted 5th overall. Well, so it's weird. It's weird.
No, I'm gonna ask that question because that's a perfectly legitimate thing that you just said. And again, I'm going to go old school here. When you spend a draft pick, a top 5, top 10 pick on a quarterback, you usually let that guy mature into leading the team. But in the last few years, and I'm going to get the date wrong, but that ESPN posted something a couple of last year of the quarterbacks that have been drafted since I want to say 2008. It may not have been that far back. None of them first-round picks are on the team that drafted them. None of them. I think Matthew Stafford was the last one to fall, and Jared Goff, who switched teams. So the idea being, now you got Josh Allen, but we just saw Josh Rosen go. I don't know where he's playing out, Saskatchewan, I think. I'm not sure where the heck he is now.
I believe Josh Rosen
was in Atlanta last week.
Was he in Atlanta? Okay, right.
I think he's on the Falcons. I think they brought him to their 53-man roster or practice squad, but he's on his 5th team in 4 years.
Right, in 3 years, right. And he's not the only one. Dwayne Haskins is, hanging on for dear life in Pittsburgh. And a lot of guys have moved all over the place because, hey, you got them for a couple of years, and if they don't get the job done, they move. But my question is this, Vince. When you draft a guy that high, and Tua, tank for Tua and all that, you took a risk on him being hurt for one thing, and you took a risk on him maybe not being the most stout person in the second place. So when you do that, you got to ride with what you got. But what do you do now? Do you obviously what they did with Josh Rosen, they just moved on. It looks like they want to move on, but do you move on? Do you do it that quickly?
So with Tua, I really believe if you drafted a guy that high, then there's something there that's telling you that's the future. So if you're gonna spend that high of a pick on a quarterback and you believe then you're telling your team that you believe that he's gonna be the future and that's who we're gonna go with and that we're gonna build him. However, whether he's a project or not, whether he's in it already or not, we're gonna work with him to get him to where he needs to be. You might as well go ahead and see what you got because he didn't play terrible last year. I'm not going to sit here and knock the man because he didn't play terrible. The only knock on him was that he couldn't stretch the ball deep downfield, even though he didn't really have a lot of those weapons to do that. But you spend a high pick on him, so I really think you got to ride it out to see what you have. And if he doesn't produce this year with a full training camp, preseason, all that, then going into this offseason, you got to raise some questions, and you're sitting here looking like, well, he's not panning out. What do we need to trade for somebody? Do we need to go draft another quarterback? Do we wait for free agency? So, but you got to see what you got in him this year. If he doesn't prove that he can be the future, then you got to look elsewhere.
If we're drafting a defensive end number 3, and in 2 years he hasn't done what he's done, we just quietly shove him out the side door. Mm-hmm. Is there a different standard for the quarterback, or should there be a different standard for the quarterback?
Well, there is a different standard for the quarterback. I mean, you saw it with Josh Rosen. He didn't play well. He was the 10th pick in the 2018 draft. Cardinals were the worst team in the next year. They had the number 1 pick. They shipped off Josh Rosen for a second. And that's actually changed because like there was years like where you gave a quarterback their entire 5 years. You had the 4 years and then you had the 5th year option to see what you really had. Right. Now it's like a quick turnaround because you're having quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, like Patrick Mahomes, like Justin Herbert, who are coming in and just playing phenomenal from day one. And it kind of like puts the pressure on every other person drafting a quarterback. You need to hit it, and they need to be playing well within that 2nd or 3rd year. Because the most important position on the football field is your quarterback. You can't win if you don't have a quarterback. And that's why I feel like teams have a lot more pressure to draft that guy, because if you don't get it, then you look back and like, maybe we should have went a different way. And now you wasted 3 years of your franchise because the quarterback you have doesn't work out. So I think it has a lot more pressure for a quarterback.
Well, and that begs the question, because now we're looking at something that's completely different. When it used to be, you would build a team around the quarterback. But when you have Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes, they play a certain way. You're building a team around that certain guy. If Lamar Jackson gets hurt, what do the Ravens do? They've got to change everything they do. If Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, they've got to change everything they do. Kyler Murray, are we going to see a shift in that, Vince, or is it going to be we're just going to play with the quarterback and whatever happens, happens? Because if those guys go down, you're done.
I truly believe. I mean, you have to be honest. Really, in order for a quarterback to be successful, you have to build around him. You have to give the man talent, unless he's just the best thing since sliced bread, and he can just make anything work. But in order for, like I said, in order for a quarterback to be successful, you have to give him pieces. So with Lamar, he really doesn't have much of a wide receiver core, so that's why he gets the knock that he has, and that's why he really hasn't been able to be as successful as he has. Granted, he has an MVP, but if you look at his playoff record, it's pretty abysmal. So he just won his first game last year, and Josh Allen has more wins in 2 years in the playoffs than he does. So I really think it's on the front office to put the pieces around him to be able to be successful, as you can see with Josh Allen. Brandon Beane has given him the keys, and he has gotten the pieces that he's needed, and look at what he's done. He had an incredible year last year, and based off that preseason game this past weekend, he looking like he ready for another big leap this year. So,
well, Dylan, we'll close with this, because we're looking at how these things play out and how we set up what's going on, and then how you guys get it going. Give the people an idea of what to expect from your show.
From our show, we did this show on YouTube last year. We did a recap / preview of the game. We would do a recap of the previous week's game for a little bit, but then go into a deep dive into the next week's game. We would talk about a trade deadline, like whether there would be any trades for the Bills to potentially look at. And like we would always do like some fun little games, like, over-unders of like Josh Allen passing yards over 400 or Cole Beasley like 2 touchdowns. We always like try to like involve like something like new like that. And we always change it up. We never have like the same like over-unders. And we always have, well, we try to at least, because I know last year, and Vince will like call me out on it, like, oh, who's your player to watch? And last year I kind of always said Josh Allen, like, because we want to see the quarterback play so well, and it was almost always Josh Allen. If it wasn't Josh Allen, it was probably Stephon Diggs, and, it wasn't like hard picks to choose from. But then you had some weeks like, Gabriel Davis was like a player to watch. Like we always like say like who's the player to watch and who's like the player that's going to have like their best performance. So like that's what we've always done on our show.
Okay. All right. Now, Vince, we're going to look at it this way. We open the show with Dylan. We're going to close the show with you. How would you close the show?
Well, go Bills, man. That's all you can really say. And from what I've seen this preseason, I got to talk about my guy, man. Gregory Rousseau, man. He's a monster. Defensive Rookie of the Year, right there. You heard it here first. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Stamp it. All right.
It's coming. It's coming. I like what I see from the kid. I really do.
Good. Well, gentlemen, thanks for joining us. I wish you all the best. Anything we can do, we're going to do. Dylan, give us all the social media stuff and all the stuff where people can find you.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at dman_HD. And that's basically my only social media because I really don't use social media that much.
Okay. I try not to, but I fall into that trap every now and then. Vince?
You can catch me on Twitter at BenchTheGuy_ is GAWD, not actually GOD, because I know a lot of people will look that up. But you can follow me there. Instagram, I don't even remember that right now, but we'll get to that next show. So, but yeah, really, you can find me there on Twitter. That I'm always there. Yeah, that's what I'm good. Oh, and you can also find me on Twitch at BenchTheGuy because I will be streaming a lot this year. So
okay. And a final shout out to the place where you go watch the game.
Oh, shout out to my Bills backers out here in North Carolina at Buffalo Brothers, man. I will see y'all September 12th. It's going to be a hell of a ride this year. So if you see this, I love y'all most definitely.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a great ride. We're going to continue it. Anything you need from us, let us know. All the people that are watching here, hey, you want some Bills information? This is the place to go. Thank you, guys.